Today, we're going to start one of our first lessons. I don't want you to feel like you need to try to draw these graphs or even take notes. I just want you to watch and kind of soak it in. And if you need to go back and rewatch the video, you could do that, or rewatch me work a problem, you could do that. But don't feel like you need to watch these and take notes, okay? So my plan is to do little lessons each day, nothing overwhelming and not over a whole lot of topics. I just want to keep the videos somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes and then have you practice just a little bit each day. So that way it's not too overwhelming, okay? I don't want to ask too much of you, but I do have to go on with our education. So just a little bit each day. All right, and today is kind of a nice start because this is something that you have seen before. It just may be a while, since you've seen it, so you might be a little fuzzy. Okay, so today we're talking about domain and range. So I want to remind you, domain are your x's, and x's are left and right. So I want to know what the graph is doing to the left and to the right. So as I start going to the left, I find this arrow, which means it goes forever to the left. As I go to the right, I see this arrow, which means it goes forever to the right. So if it ever goes forever left and forever right, that is called all real numbers. Now, range, on the other hand, are your y's. And y's are up and down. So now I'm looking up and down. So I can tell that this graph is going to go forever up, but it does not go forever down. This happens to be the lowest it goes. So I need to know who my y value is there. So I look over at my y-axis at that lowest spot, and the y is a -2. So it starts off equaling a -2. And as the graph goes up, it goes up forever. And whenever a graph goes up, the y's get bigger. So y is greater than or equal to -2. Do you kind of remember doing this from earlier in the year? Okay, looking at this one. Domain, once again, these are your x's, so I'm looking left and right. And this graph is going forever to the left and forever to the right. So that is all real numbers. Okay, now range, I'm looking up and down, because range are your y's. This graph, once again, goes forever up, like the last one, but not forever down. This is the lowest y I have, so let's see who that y is right there. And that y is a 3. So my y starts off equaling a 3, and as the graph goes up, the y's get greater, because that's what happens on the y-axis as you go up. The y's get greater. Okay, let's look at some parabolas that open down. So these are called quadratic graphs, but their shape is called a parabola. So you have parabolas that open up, and you have parabolas that open down. So once again, domain are x's, left and right. So this time, as I go to the left, I come across that arrow, which means I go forever to the left. As I go to the right, I come across that arrow, which means forever to the right. So forever to the left, forever to the right, that's all real numbers. Now let's look at range. Range are y's up and down. Now this time the graph is going forever down, but not forever up. This is the highest y we've got. So let's look over and see what y that is. The y right here starts off equaling a 4, and then this time the graph goes forever down, which means the y's get less, because anytime you go down, the y's go smaller and smaller. Okay, let's look at this one. So this one, does the graph go forever left and right? Yes, forever to the left, forever to the right, so the range is all real numbers. Or the domain is all real numbers. And then range, we're looking at y's. So it goes forever down, but not forever up. That's the highest y I have. And who's that y value right there? -3. So y starts off equaling a -3. And when the graph goes down, y's get less. So just looking at these pictures, anytime the graph goes up, it goes forever left and right. So domain is all reals. And anytime it goes down, it goes forever left and forever right. So the range is also all reals. So it doesn't matter if a graph opens up or if a graph opens down, the domain is going to be all real numbers. Now range, if the graph goes up, your y's will get greater. But if the graph goes down, the y's get less. So other than that, the range, you do basically the same as one another. So when it goes up, find the lowest y, write it down, and when it goes up, you put a greater than sign. When a graph goes down, you find the highest y, so find that highest y, write it down, and then when a graph goes down, the y's get smaller. Okay, so in a little bit, I'm going to have you guys do a quiz is to practice some problems like this. And on the quiz is, you're going to have some graphs that have open circles and closed circles, like these guys. Now these guys, the domain will not be all real numbers because there are no arrows. Now, the worst part about the quiz is there are some graphs that look like this, but they don't have the arrows on them. So if you don't see open circles and closed circles, then we're going to assume that there's arrows. So even though you only see this in the quiz is pictures, just know that there are arrows on each end, which means it goes forever this way and forever this way, which is when we have a possibility for the domain to be all real numbers. Okay, so on the quiz is, you'll either see pictures that look like this, but you won't see the arrows, or you're going to see pictures that look like this that have open circles and closed circles, and these will not ever be all real numbers. Okay, so let's review how to do open and closed circles. All right, so to remind you, domain are x's, and x's are left and right. Now, because there's no arrows, that means there will be a farthest left and a farthest right. So my farthest left x is here at -3. My farthest right x is here at +3. And it's all the x's in between. Do you remember from earlier in the year, the signs always go like this? And closed circles get equal signs, but open circles don't. And that's our domain. Now, if I want to do range, remember those are y's, so we're looking up and down. So this time I want lowest and highest. This is the lowest spot on the graph, so let's see who that y value is, and it's a 1. And the highest spot on the graph is right here, and that y value is up here at the 5. And it's all the y's in between. Remember, the signs always go the same way. So down here at this lowest spot, you don't see a circle. So when you don't see a circle, remember we assume that it's closed. So that 1's going to get an equals. But up here at the 5, since it's an open circle, no equal sign. And that's the domain and range. So when you do the quiz is, when you see open circles and closed circles like these guys, then your domain and range will look something like that. But the other pictures are something like this. They just didn't put arrows on them. So those will be the ones that go forever left and forever right. So they'll have a domain of all reals. Okay, let's try a couple more with the open and closed circles. So looking at this one, remember domain, you're looking at x's. We're looking left and right. This is my farthest left. This is my farthest right. So my farthest left x is over here at -1. My farthest right x is over here at 5. And it's all the x's in between. So I put x in between. And then I slap those symbols down. And then over here at the 5, there's a closed circle, so it gets an equals. But at the -1, it was open, so no equals. And that's the domain. Okay, range, these are y's. So we're looking up and down. So I want lowest and highest. So this is my lowest y, and that's down here at -2. And these guys are my highest y's, and they're up here at a 4. And it's all the y's in between. So y goes in between, and then slap down your symbols. Now down here at the lowest, at the -2, you don't see an open circle, so we assume it's closed, so it gets an equals. And then up here at the 4, there's an open circle and a closed. And I don't know if you remember, but the closed circle always wins, so it gets an equal sign. And just to remind you, whenever you write domain and range like this, the smallest number is on the left and the biggest number is on the right. Smallest number on the left, biggest number on the right. And as long as you do that, the signs will always go like that. Okay, let's look at one more. So looking at this one, Domain, once again, we're looking at x's, left and right. This is my farthest left x. Can you tell me who that x value is? -4. Good. So that's my farthest left x. And then this is my farthest right x. Can you tell me who that x value is? Yep, a +1. And it's all the x's in between. And then slap those symbols down. And then the 1 is the closed circle, so it gets the equals, but the -4 is the open, so no equals. Okay, range, these are y's, so we're looking up and down. So this is my lowest y I have, which is down here at the 1. And this is my highest y, which is at the what? It's at the 8. It's all the y's in between. And then let's slap those symbols down. Up here at the 8, this is assumed to be a closed circle, so it's going to get an equal sign. And down here at the lowest, at the 1, it is also a closed circle, so it gets an equal sign. And that's how you do domain and range when you see open circles and closed circles. Whereas if you just see a typical looking parabola, then those typically have arrows on both ends indicating forever left, forever right, which has a domain of all reals. And then it has a range of either y greater than when it goes up or y less than when it goes down. Okay, so that's our first little lesson. Took about 11.5 minutes. So now you're going to do a little quizzes on this, and that is on the Canvas calendar too. And so you'll click on that and you'll just take care of it. So I'll see you next time for our next lesson. Smiley face.